Part 58. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 571. When Xiao Shuangfeng came back from Alchemist Rui, he first invited the housekeeper to ask him to inquire about one thing. The butler asked blankly, "Lay sword cultivator?" It was Dan Master Rui and the others who met on the way here? The subordinates have not heard of any thunder sword cultivator that has become famous recently. Maybe it is from other realms. Why don't you send it first? People to inquire. This is what Xiao Shuangfeng also meant, make it clear, don't neglect management. The city owner doesn't want to hear about the rise of genius monks in the city from outsiders. Although Xiao Shuangfeng hired a lot of earth immortals to serve him and guard the side of the city, it did not mean that he liked someone's reputation over his head, and it would make Rui Dan teachers and students interested. The butler felt tight, and quickly replied, "Yes, the city master." What happened in the starry sky outside the city? The lower three religions and 9 streams got the news faster, but the city lord's mansion was a step behind. Maybe the monks in the city lord's mansion did not take these monks who were forced to go outside the city to make a living. The monks with status have their own property in the city. The three of Guyao could hear what Leng Su meant. She was pulling the three of them to cooperate with the Ascension cultivators represented by Leng Su. With these Ascension cultivators, even if they were troubled by the local cultivators, the Ascension cultivators would still be able to carry them. Hold on, this means that the Ascension cultivator has secretly formed a force that is not weak? The three of Guyao are not people who lack experience. It seems that it is very beneficial to them to hear it roughly, but there is also the biggest problem in it, that is, are the Ascension cultivators all in a group? The human heart is the most unpredictable, and it is very likely that they will be stabbed in the back. Of course, no matter what you do, you need to take risks. Compared with official forces such as the city lord's mansion, there is obviously more living space in the Ascension cultivator. Leng Su saw their intentions and added another piece of firewood. Actually, we Ascension cultivators are also cultivating our own elixir masters in private. Some alchemists are not weak in their alchemy skills when they are in the lower realm, but after ascension, related resources and alchemy recipes are all in the hands of local forces, and we can only get things that are not very popular on the market, so over the years we have also developed a channel by ourselves, that is, to explore various dangerous places and secret realms. These resources will also be open to you if the three are willing to join us. Guyao and Su Chen glanced at each other, which made them even more excited. Qi Changjai nodded for a while and said, "Then I'll ask Captain Leng to introduce us to one or two." Leng Su smiled, "This is Leng Mao's honor." Next, Leng Su introduced some powerful Ascension cultivators to them, because the three of Qi Changjai would inevitably have to deal with them in the future. In the end, Leng Su took the opportunity to ask Guyao and Su Chen to make medicine pills for them. They have business. Come on, the two of course won't push it out. The 4 of them are still relatively pleasant to get along with. Listening to Leng Su's meaning, accumulated over the years, although there have been Ascension monks dying due to various reasons, the number of Ascension monks is still quite large. Of course, some Ascension monks choose to rely on local forces. It is inevitable that he is not a fellow person. Although such a life will be much more comfortable and risk-free, it is very obvious that the strength of these cultivators is not as fast as Leng Su. After ordering the food and drinks, the three of Guyao left the restaurant with Leng Su, and waited for Leng Su to discuss with the others, and then made an appointment for the time and place to meet. Leng Su said as he went out of the restaurant with them, "By the way, the alchemist Rui from the Piaoxiu Immortal Palace has arrived in Donglan City, and the 3 fellow Taoists must have known it. According to the information we have now, Rui Dan has arrived. The teacher came to Donglan City, most likely to help City Lord Qiao advance. City Lord Qiao has stayed at the peak of the Earth Immortal for many years, so this time, the biggest possibility of the two alchemists is to refine a pot of yin-yang xiantian pill for City Lord Chiao. Although Dan Master Miao is the pinnacle of the Earth Immortal, I heard that he has already been able to refine the first level celestial elixir. It's City Lord Chiao. There are only two ways to get a heaven level elixir, one is to buy it elsewhere, and the other is to ask an elixir master to refine it for him, but a real heaven level elixir is very difficult to get. It is this he Dan teacher, presumably City Lord Chiao also spent a lot of money to invite him. Anyway, City Lord Chiao has the opportunity to be promoted to Heavenly Immortal, which makes us ascended cultivators envious. How difficult it is for us ascended cultivators to reach that step. Lang Su was envious, although she was still far from that step. It is very far, but even if it reaches that step, there is no network and resources like City Master Chiao to ask the first level elixir master to take action. But now there is an opportunity. As long as there are enough resources, it should not be a problem for Gu Yao and Su Chen to have a high-level earth level or even a first-level heaven-level elixir master. At this time, the four of them were already walking on the street, and suddenly someone shouted, "Lang Su!" It's really Lang Su. Lang Su's smiling face cooled down just now, and stopped to look at the cultivator who was approaching. Gu Yao and the three of them also saw the owner of the voice, who was a very beautiful female cultivator, and there was another cultivator beside her. The maid follows. As for why it was judged to be a maid? Because the nun was holding a box full of boxes, and she clearly bought it after she came out. As for why she didn't put it in the storage ring instead of letting someone hold it in her hand? Gu Yao thinks he can't understand. The three of Gu Yao were thinking about whether to leave. Although they were acquaintances, it could be seen that the relationship between the two was not very friendly. At this time, Lang Su's spiritual sense said, "This is Su Yuxiu, who flew up from the same place as me, but now she is the eldest son of the Zhang family in Donglan City, beautiful concubine." After listening to the last two words, Gu Yao and the three finally understood why she paused. Maybe Lang Su also felt that these two words were difficult to say. Concubine, it is not an estimate, but it is certain that the other party will be crushed to ashes. Even if he ascends to immortal realm and finds that the situation is not satisfactory everywhere, the pride in the heart of ascension cultivator is not so easy to defeat, and choosing to be a concubine, in the eyes of a proud cultivator like Lang Su, it is undoubtedly conceited and despised. In addition to her outstanding appearance, the female cultivator who came over was also completely different from the ascension cultivator. She was gorgeously dressed, and she also paid great attention to grooming her appearance. Compared with Lang Su, who had scars on her face, the robes on her body were somewhat damaged. Fairy, one is the toiling masses on earth. However, Su Yuxiu didn't take Lang Su's cold face and unhappiness seriously, and when she walked in front of them, her smile became more and more charming. "Lang Su, I didn't expect to meet you here. People said goodbye and you went out of the city. You really don't listen to my advice. I'm afraid that I will never see you again when you go out of the city. We are good sisters anyway, right?" Lang Su folded his arms and sneered, "Good sister? I said that you walk on your Yangguan road, I walk on my single plank bridge, and don't interfere with each other, but now you are so confused that you can't even take my words seriously. Do you want to talk to others? Show off your current good days. Even if you show it off, I would rather die outside in the cold, and I will never agree with your approach." Yuan Su Yuxiu turned pale with anger. "I'm clearly doing it for your own good, why are you so stubborn? I'm just showing you my current life to make you realize how wrong you are." He glanced to the side with his eyes like hooks. What? Two more subordinates were taken in? It's not the ascended cultivator who fooled him from somewhere. Next, she simply ignored Lang Su and lobbed to the three of Gu Yao, "My husband is from the Zhang family in the city. The wife of the city owner is the Zhang family, and the Zhang family also has a huge property in Donglan City. As long as I tell my husband, the custody can arrange you to work in our Zhang family, and it is not as comfortable as going out with this woman to take risks. How? If you agree, just go back with me. Leng Su, who was very unhappy just now, almost burst out laughing after hearing this. This woman is so self-righteous. Do you really think these three are ordinary ascension cultivators? He also persuaded them with a face of grace, but he didn't know that Gu Yao and Su Chen only had to take a few orders, and they would have much more resources than this woman could get by inviting favor. It's not like this has never happened before. The team members around her have indeed been drawn over by this woman. This woman is trying to prove to her that her choice of Su Yuxiu is correct, if not for the sake of past friendship. Leng Su has long been impatient to beat her out. Now Su Yuxiu is no longer her opponent, and she can't make a move under her hands. Thinking that when they were in the lower realm, she and Su Yuxiu were called Shuangshu by everyone, but when they thought about the past, their cold eyes became more and more serious. Qi Changjai folded his arms and ignored the woman. Gu Yao could not laugh or cry. He could also guess that this woman was trying to pry Leng Su's platform and embarrass Leng Su, or Su Chen had a heart of pity and cherished Jade, and took a step forward and said, "Thank you, Dao Yume. I mean, the three of us really won't be able to get along, and we will definitely go to Zhang's house to invite fellow Taoists to give us a bite to eat." The maids in the back were unrepentant, and she didn't meet Su Chen's eyes at all. "Madam, don't have any knowledge of this kind of person. In Donglan City, there are many monks who want to beg our madam. Madam, the master is still waiting for us." Woolen cloth. Su Yuxia glanced at Leng Su, as if she saw a smug look on Leng Su's face. She almost bit her silver teeth with hatred, but she couldn't lose her demeanor. She tried her best to maintain a smile and said, "Okay, I will wait for the three of you, just report my name Su Yuxiu. Everyone, farewell." After seeing Su Yuxiu's figure away, Leng Su's face showed a complicated mood. There are not one or two female cultivators like her, but unfortunately, the eldest young master of the Zhang family has more than 30 concubines alone. Bit. Gu Yao almost sprayed. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 572. After Su Yuxiu left, Leng Su also quickly bid farewell to them. The three of Gu Yao were strolling slowly on the street. Su Yuxiu's incident was still a shock to them. Every cultivator who can soar can be said to be blessed with talent and opportunities. A concubine of many? Su Chen sighed with emotion. If I were to fall into such a situation, it would be better to stay in the spiritual world and not rise up. There are more than 30 concubines, as well as the wife of the main family, and maybe there are other Luanyanyans. With so many women together, can it really be peaceful? Oh, you made the man happy, and gave you some immortal stone pills. You have to be grateful to Dice yet? Gu Yao also couldn't understand it. Maybe they just came to the fairyland and couldn't deeply feel the difficulty of the ascended cultivator's situation. As for this family, I heard Leng Su and the monks in the exchange station mention it before. In Donglan City, the city lord's mansion is naturally the largest, and under the city lord's mansion, there are 4 families that flourish here and occupy there are many industries in Donglan City. It can be said that the young master of the Zhang family is indeed the favored son of heaven in this Donglan City, which makes countless monks envious. In addition to the Zhang family, there are also the Li family, the Zheng family, and the Shi family. The guys at the exchange station are very gossipy. Gu Yao and Su Chen have heard him gossip. These 4 families have women sent to the backyard of the city lord's mansion. As for these women, it is impossible to know who is older and who is younger, but because of this approach, the connection between the city lord's mansion and these 4 families has deepened. Unlike 50 years ago, where they were paid attention to wherever they went, this time the 3 of them were very comfortable. It's nice that the light bulb-like presence is noticeable. They scattered and sold a batch of materials in their hands, which should add up to a lot of income, but in comparison, They spent more. Although they have been here for 50 years, their understanding of the fairy world is still too shallow, and they don't know some common sense things, so they bought a lot of basic books and jade slips, and they also need to collect maps, plus add a batch of immortal grass, and post a lot of immortal stones. In the next few days, I will go out early and return late, so that I can adapt to the life in the immortal world. Street restaurants and tea houses are also the easiest places to get all kinds of news. In the city lord's mansion, Ding Ling and Wu Xian, who came back to hand over the task, hurried back to the mission hall, which belongs to the city lord's mansion. After the two handed over the task, they separated. This time they met again, and it was very strange. Wu Xian guessed, "Why did you call us back again? Could it be that you have a new task assigned to us?" Ding Ling shook his head. "I don't know." He didn't want to take the task again immediately. He saved up the pen immortal stone and was going to buy medicine pills to retreat. The hard work for 100 years was not for this. When the steward saw them, he just ordered them to follow the steward, and told them, "Someone wants to see you, and when you meet the guests, be more respectful." The other party is a disciple of a famous section this time. He is following Dan Master Rui to our East Lin city traveled. "Why do you want to see us?" Wu Xian asked strangely. The steward frowned. "I said I wanted to inquire about the Ascension Cultivator. You just came back from there, or I'll find you." Wu Xian's heart is still strange. These famous disciples are acting strangely. What are the Ascension monks to inquire about? But knowing that they are not looking for trouble, this heart is put down. Ding Ling snorted in his heart. He didn't forget the 3 guyaos that he received at the beginning. If they were really here for the Ascension Cultivator, it was because the situation of these 3 people was very special, and he didn't know whether the other party was an enemy or a friend. But after he came back, he was busy buying medicinal pills and contacting friends, but he didn't even bother to inquire about the situation of the 3 people. The 2 were led by the steward to the guest house, and brought to the front of the 2 monks in Chinese robes. They saw that the other party was also in the early stage of Earth Immortal, but because he was a disciple of a famous sect, even the steward treated him very respectfully. Not only Ding Ling, but also Wu Xian's heart is very sour. It is really different from the same people. These 2 were Wenfan and Genyan, and when they saw Ding Ling and Wu Xian, they asked bluntly, "You just came back from the Ascension Pool? I heard that you received 3 Ascension monks 50 years ago. Is it from Zelling realm?" Before Guyao and the others, they only knew that the space they were in was called the spiritual world. After they came to the fairy world, they knew that there were many spaces like the spiritual world under the fairy world, and the spiritual world they came from was called here Zelling world. A stone fell in Ding Ling's heart, and there was a feeling that he had finally arrived, and he really asked about these 3 people. Wu Xian hurriedly said, "There are such 3 Ascension cultivators, almost from front to back." "Where are they now?" Genyan suddenly stood up and asked anxiously. Ding Ling's eyes darkened, fearing that the visitor was not good. Wu Xian said without thinking, "It should be in Xianlin town." Wenfan and Genyan looked at him with contempt. They had already been to Xianlin town, and the 3 of them weren't there at all. If they hadn't been to Xianlin town, they wouldn't have known that the 3 of them would ascend together. "Come up." Wenfan pointed at Ding Ling and said, "Tell me." Ding Ling stepped forward and clasped his fists and said, "It's the 3 Ascension cultivators I received here. They sold 3 immortal weapons and left Xianlin town by airship. They must be in Donglan city now." Wu Xian glanced at Ding Ling secretly complaining, why didn't he tell him about this? Ascending monks have fairy weapons on them. Couldn't figure out a way to get it off. Genyan's face was obviously filled with joy, and it really was in Donglan city. They didn't run in vain this time. They must know that it took them a lot of energy to build this relationship. Wenfan asked again, what was their cultivation base when they first ascended? Ding Ling said honestly, it's the middle stage of human beings and immortals. Genyan immediately burst into laughter. Mid-human immortal? 50 years have passed. Even if they are able to advance to the late stage of human immortals, there is no room for them to jump up in front of their Earth immortals. This time we will see where they run. Wenfan asked again, can you help us find them? We have some connections with these 3 ascension monks. Ding Ling shook his head with a sincere expression and said, sorry, I don't have a way to contact them, although the middle stage of human immortals is not bad, but it is not worth my friendship with them. If it is in the late stage of human immortals, maybe I will recommend them to the City Lord Mansion. Wenfan asked again, but apart from the above, he couldn't ask anything else, so he could only thank Ding Ling and Wu Xian, and thank the steward, and let them go out. Ding Ling, who walked out of the guest house, looked as usual, but his heart was sweating hard. This time, he was taking a risk. He didn't even think that he would stand by the 3 ascended monks without hesitation. Is it too big? Will it not be worth the loss? Wu Xian complained when he came out, why didn't you tell me about this? I thought they came from different places, and it happened that the ascension time was about the same. Ding Ling smiled, I thought it wasn't that important, but it doesn't seem to be that important now. If I had known this, I would have kept them anyway. After that, Ding Ling returned to his residence and did not inquire about the news. He didn't know whether the 2 believed his words, but it was better to be cautious. After the person, Genyan was even more excited, walked around excitedly, rubbed his hands and said, in the middle stage of human beings, haha, I thought they were talented, but that's all. If the latter stage of human beings and immortals can still make me look up to Genyan. At a glance, the 2 of Changkaman can't stop our good deeds. Wenfan also showed joy in his eyes, and finally it didn't waste their busy time. He said, I want that black nightmare beast. Okay, I just want the peculiar fire on the surname Gu. These 3 guys are really lucky. There are actually 3 peculiar fires, but their luck has come to an end thinking about how they can be jealous. Lian Xinhuo, Black Minjian, coupled with the Red Lotus karmic fire, although it is not the main fire, it is also coveted. It is just that this thing is not good, and if you are not careful, you can lose your soul, so although you are greedy, you can only give up. Wenfan thought for a while and said, let's see if the things we bring with us can take away the Red Lotus industry, and bring it back and sell it to others to make a fortune. Maybe it can cover our expenses this time. This time when they came out, it was really bleeding, and it hurts to think about it. If there is no news of these 3 people, it would be wrong. Genyan geared up, you're right, we can't conquer it, but that doesn't mean others can't use it. Knowing that the 3 of them were in Donglan City, Wenfan and Genyan sent a lot of people to start a city-wide search. Many of them belonged to the City Lord's mansion. After all, the 2 of them came with alchemist Rui. The honored guest, coupled with the identity of the disciple of the 7 Stars Immortal sect, the city owner will not interfere too much. After hearing the news from the City Lord's mansion, Leng Su took a deep breath. It was obvious that he would not stop until the 3 of Guyao were found. Originally, Leng Su had to change the idea of meeting and discussing with the other Ascension cultivators, because she could not ensure that no one would betray Guyao and the 3, and at the same time pass the situation to Guyao and the others. Su Chen raised his brows lightly and snorted, the lingering guy. They dare to deal with us. Chi Changai's eyes flashed fiercely, then let them go back and forth, we have to find a way to solve it first. Got them. Guyao nodded, keeping it is always a hidden danger, and now apart from them, not many people should know about our situation. So start early. I have to ask Leng Su to cooperate in this matter, because they have no personal connections here, and they can't even find out where these 2 guys live and what places they will go in and out, but Leng Su can get the news from the City Lord's mansion. The news shows that their gang has even penetrated into the City Lord's mansion, and even the bottom ones are of great use. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 573. Wenfan was worried that the time had dragged on for a long time, and was thinking about how to speed up the search. At this time, the opportunity came to the door. The young master of the Zhang family took the lead, and the sons of the four families invited Wenfan and Genyan to come out. Polly. The identities of these two people are not concealed at all. After all, when they go out to walk, the identity of the disciples of the Seven Stars Immortal sect can be quite bluffing. Even the senior leaders of these four families also feel that this opportunity to come to the door is very necessary. Although Lin Cheng is far away from the Seven-Star Immortal sect, if he can get in touch and send the children of the clan to the Seven-Star Immortal sect in the future, then they will not need to be suppressed by the city owner. At present, the two sides are in a state of checks and balances, but the four families are also very dissatisfied. Their interests in Donglan City have been divided up by City Lord Chiao over the years. This city owner's heart is too greedy compared to the previous city owners. If he really let him break through the heavenly immortal and leave Donglan City, it would be fine. If he stayed here, the four families would all become Jiao Shuangfeng's puppets. No one wants to be controlled by others, and their status has plummeted. Wenfan and Genyan were from ordinary families in the immortal world. They were lucky than others. The birthplace of Yu Hao was in the jurisdiction of the Seven Stars Immortal sect, so when the Seven Stars Immortal sect recruited disciples, they passed the assessment and entered the section. Their qualifications were not the same. Not too good. When they were still at the peak of human immortals, the disciples in the same period all rose to earth immortals, that is, they grabbed the opportunity to go to the lower realm with the connections they had managed over the years. The cultivators of their class have a kind of hatred for the wealthy children of the good family, but they are out of the Seven-Star Immortal sect realm, but they find that these good family children also have to flatter them, and their vanity soars. No wonder not many people are willing to come here. The environment here is too bad. I have encountered many immortals and immortals along the way. An earth immortal can dominate here, so there is even a serious sect force. No wonder we are jealous of our Seven-Star Immortal section. Genyan looked at the invitation post and said proudly, knowing that their Seven-Star Immortal sect has an immortal lord in charge. Wenfan also laughed. These family children are not useless, this time I'll give them a face. Let's see what activities they have arranged for us. Let's go, let these local snakes help us find someone faster than ourselves. Too much. Genyan laughed. They came from Dazongmen. They didn't want to see Donglan City, so they didn't want to hang out in the city after they came, but the person who sent the post can say that they arranged a lot for them. Interesting activities. In terms of fun, the disciples of these sects may not be able to compare with the children of these families. There was an echo of the news that Tuo Lengsu had inquired about. Su Chen looked at the reply and said, "The arena? It seems that there are many places in Donglan City that we don't know about. Do you want to go and have a look?" Gu Yao said, "Go ahead, just as Captain Leng has sent us a guide, no one will lead the way, and we may not be able to find a place. I have to say that Leng Su's arrangement is very appropriate, otherwise Leng Su will come forward in person, and others will pay more attention to Gu Yao and the three of them. After all, Leng Su has made a certain reputation in Donglan City." The three arrived at the agreed location and found the monk Zhang Cheng arranged by Leng Su. Zhang Cheng clasped the three of them together and said, "Captain Leng asked the three fellow deists to see something first, and then decide whether to go in or not after reading it." Captain Leng was worried that the three fellow deists would not be happy when they saw it. Chi Changjai stretched out his hand to take it. Leng Su meant that the situation of the ascended cultivators in Donglan City was worse than they knew. Are there ascension monks in this arena? It is difficult to say what position they are in. I knew it would be unpleasant to read, but after reading the contents of the jade slip, Chi Changjai, who was mentally prepared, was still angry. What a Donglan city, what a cultivating family in Donglan city. Aware of Chi Changjai's killing intent, Zhang Cheng trembled. No wonder Captain Leng asked him to show respect to these three people. This is the late stage of human immortals. It's clearly an Earth immortal, isn't it? Human fairy. Fortunately, he listened to Captain Leng's words and didn't offend the Earth immortal senior. Gu Yao and Su Chen took turns to look at the jade slip, and their faces darkened instantly. What they saw in the jade slip made them want to practice peacefully in Donglan City, and they had the urge to make trouble. I really want to take over all the so-called noble families in Donglan City. They originally thought that the Ascension monks were forced to go out of the city to hunt the star beasts. The situation was bad enough. After all, the mortality rate of the monks outside was extremely high. Compared with the situation in the jade slip, at least the monks who went out of the city still have their own dignity and freedom, while some ascended monks have become slaves raised by these noble families, the kind of slaves who have stamped slave marks in their souls, and they cannot control their life and death. Without controlling his strength, the jade slip turned into powder in Su Chen's hands. Piaoxiu Immortal Palace doesn't care about these things, Su Chenai asked through gnashing of teeth. When Zhang Cheng first learned about this, his mood was not much better than that of Su Chen and the others. He almost became one of them. Later, he was rescued by Leng Su, so he was very loyal to Leng Su. Zhang Cheng sneered, under the Piaoxiu Palace, there are trillions of monks. Compared with this huge number, the situation of a few ascending monks is simply insignificant. Moreover, the various forces at the bottom of this fairyland are intricate and united to bully them. If you hide it from the top may not be able to figure out the situation below. City Lord Chiao must know the situation here. He belongs to the Piaogong Immortal Palace. The pill master who came here this time may not be clear, but in their eyes, what is the life of the ascended cultivator? We are the only ones. Cherish your own life. Gu Yao suppressed the anger in his heart and asked, is there no ascended cultivator in Piaoxiu Immortal Palace? He doesn't believe that after countless years, no ascension cultivator will stand out, and the high level of immortal realm is controlled by the local cultivator. Isn't his master who has never masked ascended? According to Bigo, he is already an immortal monarch, but it is not within the immortal world they currently know, and it is only a dream to go to hug the thighs in the first time. Yes, Zhang Cheng affirmed, but the Piaoxiu Immortal Palace is dominated by local monks, but I also believe that outside the Piaoxiu Immortal Palace, there must be places where our ascended monks have the right to speak. We ascension cultivators here, as long as they are strong enough, will leave Donglan City to look for opportunities, hoping to come back one day in the future and change everything. If they stay here forever, the possibility of breakthrough is extremely small. Chi Changjai's eyes flashed and he said, let's go to the arena to see the situation. Okay, Zhang Cheng led the way. The atmosphere became a little dull along the way, and Su Chen was not in the mood to laugh. Judging from the above situation, it was very rare that Ding Ling did not report their potential truthfully at the beginning. Otherwise, they would report the situation. The trio is likely to be greatly restricted, and may even fall into a bad situation, such as slavery. I'm so angry. Su Chen actively used his brains to communicate with Gu Yao and Chi Changjai. Although Zhang Cheng was Leng Su's person, they would not even trust Leng Su wholeheartedly. You said, wouldn't it be fun to let those two idiots die in the arena? Chi Changjai glanced at him lightly. There must be masters in a dark place like the gladiatorial arena. How can you get out of your body and make people think that this matter is inseparable from the four aristocratic families? Su Chen looked at Gu Yao, and Gu Yao was caught in the middle. Let's see how the situation goes over there. If you have a chance, you can of course give it a try. At this time, no one would have thought that we would take the initiative to deal with Wenfan and the others. Thinking about it carefully, this time is indeed the best time. Presumably Wenfan and Genyan did not regard them as opponents at all, otherwise it would be impossible to hunt them down like this, so now is the time when these two are the most negligent. Chi Changjai nodded. No matter how many methods there are, it depends on the environment and people. When they arrive at the arena, they have to adapt accordingly. When Zhang Cheng reminded them that they are about to arrive, the mood of the three of them seemed very calm. The outside of the arena looks like a place to eat, drink and play, and it is a place that pays attention to style. Otherwise, it will not be able to attract the children of aristocratic families. It seems that the immortal stones here are not immortal stones, and a lot of immortal stones are thrown in. Those were the four families, but after Qiao Shuangfeng came to Donglan City, part of the profits here belonged to him. Because of this, such a gladiatorial arena is more unscrupulous, and some monks caught by star thieves are also sent here. After a long time, not only the Ascension monks, but also some local bottom-level monks have also been reduced to the oppressed. When he came to the entrance, Zhang Cheng took out a black sign, with which he could enter. On the way, Zhang Cheng had already explained that his current appearance was not his own, and his current identity was a rich man from outside. He wanted to have fun in such a gold-selling cave, while Guyao and the three had to temporarily pretend to be his entourage guards. The three of Guyao have no objection. When they know their identity, they understand why this guy looks like a nouveau riche at first sight, and people want to rob him wherever they go. The monk guarding the entrance is actually an Earth Immortal. Even in the early days of Earth Immortal, you can see how high the standard of care here is. The monk placed the black sign on a ferry and swept it, and then put Zhang Cheng. After passing the customs, they belong to the followers brought by Zhang Cheng, and they are also in the ranks of release. This made the three of Guyao know that no one would lead the way, and they would never want to infiltrate this arena. The golden walls inside the building are splendid, which can blind people's eyes. The attendants on both sides who receive guests are all handsome men and women. If you change to an ordinary monk, a smile can make people's bones crumble. Huh? Isn't that the fat man who came by boat from Xianlin town with us? Su Chen suddenly appeared with an acquaintance. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 574. Zhang Cheng also saw that there were almost no ascended cultivators who came out of Xianlin town who didn't know this fat man. It's a wealthy family, but it's not enough to see in Donglan City. Zhang Cheng pushed away the servant who served, and took Guyao and the three over to watch. The fat man this time was too different from the last time he saw the beauties swaggering around. The beauties were gone, and he was begging for one. The person who seems to be in charge, give me another chance, I will definitely be able to turn over the book, and I will definitely be able to win the title deed back. Guyao and Su Chen snapped at each other. This fat man won't use the Xiantian land deed in Xianlin town as a gambling book, right, and he won't be able to get it back if he loses the bet. Zhang Cheng said, it seems yes, this is called the wicked man's own grind. This fat man is very stingy with the Ascension cultivator. He can only get 100 immortal stones by serving his immortal fields for 100 years, and this immortal stone is almost the travel expenses. Join city fee. What is this concept? That is to say, the labor fee for a year is only a low-grade immortal stone, so Guyao and Su Chen can't feel sympathy for this fat man, even though the next owner of Xiantian is still stingy. They are happy to see it. The person in charge is impatient, others will give you a high look, but where is this place? Only when they bring Xianji in will they give you a high look, and waved, go away, or bring Xianji over to redeem the land deed, or just wait. Let's go to the door to collect the land and chase people away. Go ahead. Throw this guy out to Laozi. Immediately a guard came over, picked up the fat man's collar and took it outside. Not to mention that the fat man's cultivation base is not high. Even if his cultivation base is higher than the guard, he would not dare to resist in this situation, crying with a fat face, "This time it's dead, and the family business is lost." After a while, Guyao and the others also heard a bang from the entrance, which was really throwing people out. Sure enough, the backstage is hard, and it is shameful to say that it is shameful. The steward looked impatient just now, but when he turned around, he was full of smiles. When he saw Zhang Cheng and his party, he came over and said enthusiastically, "What does this custodian want to play? We have everything here. Is this your first time here? Have you been here before?" Zhang Cheng flashed the black card and said, "This is the first time I have come here. I heard from friends that your place is good, so I came here to play. You don't need to care about this young master just wanders around, maybe you can watch it? If you are interested." "Okay, okay, please go inside." Seeing that Zhang Cheng and the three disappeared, the steward hurriedly beckoned to call a servant. "This cultivator has a very unfamiliar face, so send someone to keep an eye on him. Today, the four young masters are entertaining the responsible guests, so don't make trouble." "Okay, in charge." The attendant turned around and disappeared. The three of Guyao did not listen to anything at will. After all, according to Zhang Cheng, there will be at least 3 late-stage Earth Immortals in the town. As for whether there are peak Earth Immortals, he is not too sure. Guyao is not confident that his consciousness can hide the perception of the post-Earth Immortal. Zhang Cheng also looked around. Sometimes he stopped to play 2 games. In the black sign, there were 100,000 immortal stones. Of course, the sign was also made by the arena and passed through the interior, and it could only be used here. The black brand is the lowest level, that is to say, the entry price is 100,000 immortal stones. In gambling places, the building materials used are all isolated from the divine sense, so it is impossible to use the divine sense to cheat here. It depends on personal luck and ability in this regard. 5 cards were arbitrarily drawn from tens of thousands of cards, and then the cards were shuffled by comparing the size, and they even used a small spell that confuses the line of sight. This is absolutely amazing. Zhang Cheng lost thousands of immortal stones in a short time, and Su Chen clearly saw his expression, so he pretended not to care. Seeing how the cultivators around him were red-eyed for gambling, Guyao did not expect that some people in this fairyland would actually be addicted to gambling. In his opinion, the cultivators who have cultivated all the way from the bottom are very strong-minded. How could they be addicted to it? But what about these fairyland native monks? Can their xingxing really stand the test? Guyao felt that the general public may not have the kindness of spiritual monks. Of course, it is not ruled out that there are also outstanding people in the fairy world, who can go all the way to the top of the fairy world and become the immortal emperor in charge of one side. Zhang Cheng was about to leave when he saw Guyao winking at him. With a thought, he followed Guyao's words and placed a small bet of 5,000 chips. When the cards were opened, Zhang Cheng was pleasantly surprised. I found that not only did the losers come back, but they also lost a small amount of windfall money. Of course, this time the cost will not be counted on his head. After playing 2 more games, he still won and earned more than 10,000 immortal stones. Zhang Cheng was stunned. Guyao had cheated. Well, he almost laughed smugly in his heart. He wanted to stop at this point, but he didn't want to look at him again in the long night. Well, let's continue playing. There is always a feeling that these 3 are going to play a big game. As a result, in the next hour, although Zhang Cheng also lost a few hands, he lost even more, and soon the 100,000 immortal stones turned into 500,000. Zhang Cheng was almost unable to hold the black card, and his palms felt like he was sweating, and the monk next to him saw that he lost less and won more, so he followed the trend and made a few bets. I didn't expect that there was a small gain. Only the monk who dealt the cards turned pale and was about to be unable to hold on. Wangxian stone. Such a big movement of course caught the steward's attention, and the steward looked at the screen in the casino and judged, the followers around this monk have some special abilities. Every time this monk makes a bet, he has to look at the followers first, since they are so stunned. If there are too many, please invite them to the underground arena to play. Although the number of immortal stones that they go in and out every day is a huge number, once they find people with special abilities, unless the identity of the other party is very special and they are afraid, they will be listed on the list of forbidden entry. Also send someone to investigate the origin of this guy and see where he came from, the steward then explained. Okay, my subordinate will make arrangements now. Zhang Chen was overjoyed holding the black card. After earning so much, he could at least get some points. From this point of view, this mission was worth it. However, he also knew that this approach could not go on forever. Someone would definitely invite them out. Sure enough, two outstanding servants, a man and a woman, invited them in a short while. On the grade, just standing there makes people unable to take their eyes off. It was because he followed the monk who had lost the immortal stone and winked at Zhang Chen ambiguously. This was because he envied his luck. Zhang Chen also worked hard all the way up from the lower realm. His temperament has been polished and his experience is not shallow. In fact, he can see it at a glance. This is one thing for a man and a woman with outstanding looks, and on the other hand, it is because they have practiced seduction techniques, so even if they just stand there without talking or laughing, there is an invisible charm that is revealed. But Zhang Chen appeared to be affected at the moment, and seemed extremely proud. After greeting the others, he took 3 followers and swaggered out with the 2 servants. On the way, he generously rewarded the 2 servants for 1. The pen immortal stone, the standard flower size, seems to have been influenced by the other party to spit out a lot of truth. Guyao clearly saw that the eyes of these 2 attendants flashed disdain. It seems that their identities are not low, even Zhang Chen couldn't take it seriously. As everyone knows, apart from being born in the immortal world, Zhang Chen also looks down on the character of such monks. If they compete with the ascending monks on the same level, Zhang Chen dares to say that these monks are completely defeated, but the local monks dominate the mainstream, and some ascending monks. After coming to immortal world for a long time, he also breeds offspring here, and gradually integrates into the ranks of local monks. Ascension monks are always at a disadvantage. When Zhang Chen and his entourage were sent into the underground space, the 2 attendants clearly showed their intentions to the steward who came to receive Zhang Chen, but they were all seen by Zhang Chen and Guyao. Let's explore Zhang Chen's bottom line. Now that he has reached the bottom, he doesn't feel that Zhang Chen is a threat, right? Although this space is underground, it is very open, and the various decorations are more luxurious than those above. The steward who came to entertain them is also an Earth Immortal, as if here and Donglan City are 2 worlds, where Earth Immortals become different. Valuable. You must know that in Donglan City, Earth Immortals definitely belong to the upper class. Young Master Gu is here for the first time. Have you heard your friend mention the characteristics of our place? The steward smiled like a Maitreya Buddha, looking very harmless. Zhang Chen looked around with interest and said, of course I mentioned it, that you can buy anything you want here, especially trained slaves, right? Haha, of course, young Master Gu is interested, so I will show young Master Gu to see if there is anything you like. Zhang Chen nodded and said, yes, if satisfied, I can choose 1 or 2 good conditions, but I also know that your slaves have a disadvantage, that is, it will be difficult to advance in the future. Such slaves are not comparable to those around me. Escort. The steward said, that's natural, the guards of the children of the noble family, which one is not absolutely loyal since childhood, but the reason why our slaves are popular, of course, also has our advantages. For example, in a critical situation, the cultivation base and vitality can be transferred to himself, and the fatal injury can also be transferred to the slave. I believe that young Master Gu must be reluctant to sacrifice the guards he has cultivated for many years. This is also one of the things that Gu Yao and the others saw in the Jade Slip. If the City Lord's Mansion is an official organization, it means that the official organization shelters the evil demons below. They have rarely heard of such evil people in the spiritual world. Means, but here as show off. The monks who were marked as slaves are really better than death, and even their own lives are not under their control, and they will be deprived at any time. The caretaker looks like he doesn't care about the lives of the slaves, which is very impulsive, and let these people taste the taste of being reduced to slaves. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 575. Zhang Cheng put on a tempted look, but in his heart he felt that these noble families were rotten, and he wished they would be burnt out with a fire. The steward immediately led Zhang Cheng to select slaves. Zhang Cheng was already mentally prepared, but Gu Yao and the three were shocked. What these slaves revealed was either hopeless death or endless numbness, and there were actually some in these slaves. Earth Immortal, but this Earth Immortal shrank involuntarily when she saw the steward's eyes, and one can imagine how she was treated during the training process. Rao is a person who is used to seeing life and death, and he can't bear to face this kind of situation. Death is not terrible for monks. The most terrible thing is the loss of dignity and freedom. It is better to fight than to live. Died in. Seeing whether Zhang Chengguang would buy it or not, the steward murmured in his heart, "What the is this guy doing here?" At this moment, cheers came from another space. Zhang Chen was relieved. He really couldn't do it if he wanted to buy slaves, even if he wanted to rescue, not to mention that it was useless to rescue one or two people. The most important thing was, he didn't know how to remove the slave mark, and it was useless to take people out. So Zhang Cheng's eyes lit up, and he pointed in the direction of the voice and said, "That's the real beast arena, let's take this young master there." This young master enjoys this kind of exciting activity the most. The steward was determined not to keep all the 500,000 immortal stones on this guy's body. Wouldn't he be busy working for nothing? So he happily obeyed and led Zhang Cheng and his party to go there. Passing through a door is like entering another world. The underground space here is wider, and it seems to be wider than the total on the ground. However, there is a strong smell of blood here. Some are newly left, and some are unknown. It has been accumulated for a long time, and the layers are superimposed, stimulating the cultivator's nerves, and the whole person will become manic when entering here. It looks like a huge crater. The middle is sunken, surrounded by VIP rooms and stands. The monks can come here to overlook the huge square sunken in the middle. The strong smell of blood is also from the aura emanating from it was also mixed with the vicious aura of beasts. The steward explained with a smile, "There will be warriors and beasts fighting here on a regular basis. Our warriors and beasts are 1 in 10,000, and they are guaranteed to bring the greatest enjoyment and excitement to the guests who come here, and the guests come here, the same you can bet, whether you bet on a beast or a warrior to win." Zhang Cheng showed great interest, as if the uncle had immortal stones and only took care of flowers. "Then show me the beasts and warriors who are going to play." "Okay," the steward replied with a smile, then clapped his hands, and a servant sent the information and served the whole process. Watching Zhang Cheng and his party leave with the attendants, the steward squinted slightly, turned and went to the other direction, where the 4 young masters entertained the guests. After Zhang Cheng read the information, he threw it to his followers, that is, in the hands of Qi Changjai and the others. The 3 followers glanced at what was written in the information. It was the situation of the beasts and warriors who were about to appear in the gladiatorial fight today. For example, how many battles they have experienced and how high the winning rate is. The beasts and warriors in the data have almost no chance of losing, but there are draws. After a little thinking, you can understand that if you lose, in such an occasion, there is almost no chance of losing your whole body. The possibility of retreat, if you lose, you will lose your life. Therefore, the smell of blood on the gladiatorial square below was left by beasts and warriors played by many monks. The smell was so strong that I don't know how many monks' lives were buried. In the first gladiatorial fight, the beast was a horned flame beast captured from the starry sky. It won all 10 games, and this time it was its 10th game. Its opponent warrior only has a serial number, which is number 1566, but the gender is added to the back of the information. It is female, ethnicity, and human cultivation. The record is 10 wins, 4 draws, and 2 losses. Zhang Cheng put 100,000 immortal stones on the warrior without hesitation. Bet on the warriors to win. Where to place bets, you can find out what the bets and odds are for the beasts and the warriors. The beasts are 2-1, and the warriors are 5-1. That is to say, almost no one is optimistic that the warriors can escape from the claws of the beasts. The attendant glanced at Zhang Cheng in surprise, but the other party was willing to smash the immortal stone on the beast arena, which was exactly what they needed. Here, the one with the immortal stone is the uncle. At this time, a few more monks came here. Qi Changjai raised his eyelids slightly and then lowered his eyelids. They followed up as followers and didn't look around at will. At this time, he could clearly see the approaching people on the opposite side. 2 of them came. He was very familiar, but it wasn't that Wenfan and Genyan, and there were 2 people next to them. Needless to say, he was the second of the 4 young masters who entertained the distinguished guests today. Seeing Qi Changjai's performance, Gu Yao and Su Chen understood that the person they were looking for had been found, but they needed to be cautious about how to act, because now they had 7 or 8 Earth Immortals around them, not including the hidden ones. No one showed up. The 2 young masters who accompanied Wenfan and Genyan, by coincidence, one of them was the eldest young master of the Zhang family, who was attached to Su Yuxiu. He looked like a dog. It is difficult to have an ugly appearance, and the other is the eldest son of the Shi family. Those who can be called the 4 great young masters must not be weak, so these 4 are all in the early stage of Earth Immortal, and they are outstanding among the younger generation in Donglan City. You must know that their bone age is less than 100 years old. Gu Yao and the others such an old guy who belongs to the ancestors in front of these 4 young masters. Zhang Dashao smiled and said, "Have the 2 brothers decided which side to bet on?" This time, Brother Shi and I, as landlords, agreed that we would invite the 2 brothers to play. If we lose, will be ours, and the 2 brothers will be ours. Shi Dashao echoed, "Yes, it is our honor that the 2 senior brothers had a good time." Wenfan and Genyan glanced at each other. Although these 2 guys had no worries about the cost of immortal stones because they were backed by their family, they were very jealous, but now that the immortal stones were given to them, they would not push them out, so Wenfan representative Genyan replied, "In this way, I would like to thank the 2 junior brothers for their kindness, then let's bet on that horned flame beast." "Okay, haha, of course there's no problem." Zhang Dashao immediately called the attendants next to him to throw 500,000 immortal stones for Wenfan and Genyan. In a blink of an eye, 1 million immortal stones went down. Wenfan and the others were jealous, but thinking that they might each earn 1 million immortal stones afterwards, they felt happy again. After making the bet, Zhang Shi and the 2 elders took Wenfan and Genyan and turned back. Of course, their box was the special guest room. From the beginning to the end, Wenfan and Genyan didn't even glance at Gu Yao's location. They never thought that the person they were looking for was right under their noses. Zhang Cheng's teeth are itchy. He is the young master of such an aristocratic family. He doesn't take the monk's life seriously at all. The warriors who are going to end later are very likely to be ascended monks. Judging from their posture, the warriors this time are very good. May die tragically under the claws of the horned beast. When Zhang Cheng was about to stay in the box, he heard Gu Yao's voice transmission, his eyebrows moved, and he said to the entourage on the side, "I'm going to see the beasts and warriors who are going to play. Just reading the information is not enough, maybe after reading it. I'll place more bets later. The attendant was attentive and smiled, yes, please come with me. The attendant took them down a long staircase leading to the bottom. The smell here became more foul and unpleasant. When they came down from the stairs, they saw iron cages, all of which were imprisoning a beast, and some of them looked extremely violent. Fierce light flashed in the beast's eyes, and kept hitting the cage, but the cage was made of special materials, and a ban was added, so the beast's actions were futile. Such a ferocious beast can be seen at a glance, and when it is released, it will definitely reveal its ferocity and be extremely ferocious. Near an exit, they saw the horned beasts and warriors about to appear. The horned flame beast's face is hideous, not to mention the cultivator who was also sitting cross-legged in the cage, Guyao, and the three of them all gasped in their hearts, not to say that the cultivator's face seemed to be covered by some toxin. Most of the ugly scars on her face are this female cultivator, who is clearly someone they know. It is the Baihan fairy who flew to the immortal realm early, and they are going to find a way to find out. The scene of the ascension left a deep impression in their minds. It can be said that at that time they felt that the name fairy was worthy of the name. They didn't expect to meet again in the fairyland. What happened? The three looked at each other. What should they do? Can they just watch Baihan die? Compared with the state of the beast in front of him and Baihan, the latter is obviously weaker than the former. In this kind of place, would the people in the arena kindly give the pills to let Baihan heal? The injuries in Baihan's body continued to accumulate, and it was about to reach its limit, and then it was facing collapse. However, this attendant is still constantly praising Baihan, saying how brave and strong she is, and what beasts have died under her hands. Baihan is closing his eyes and adjusting his breath all the way, treating them as nothing. After watching, Zhang Chen left with the attendant. Guyao and Qi Changjai walked behind, watching the attendant defenseless against them. Also, there are many restrictions here. What good is it for the monk to sneak in? Just seeing these fierce beasts and those warriors, especially when they found Fairy Baihan, Guyao and the others had a crazy idea in their minds. So when Guyao and the others walked up the stairs, a black shadow fell silently, and even more quietly controlled a lower-level cultivator working here, and the lower-level cultivator working here is greatly affected by the environment, and the fluctuation of the immortal energy is also large, and this kind of person is most likely to be deterred. Zhang Cheng and the others returned to the top. After entering the box, Zhang Cheng looked at Guyao and the others, wondering what their plans were. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 576. Guyao didn't know whether the plan would be successful or not. He just said, if it goes well, there may be a big mess in a while. At the critical moment, Daiyozhang can protect himself. Although it was a sound transmission, Zhang Chen was so stunned that he opened his mouth wide. He couldn't imagine how much trouble it would cause. As far as he knew, there were many masters in the arena, otherwise there would be no peace. But I don't know what Guyao and the others did, and it was probably related to going underground just now. It didn't take long before the gladiatorial fight began, and many monks who stayed in the box came out and looked down on the circular corridor outside. There are many iron gates guarding around the sunken gladiatorial square. At this time, an iron gate on one side opened, and that exit was the one where Guyao and the others had been before. The horned flame beast rushed out for a long time. The roar was amazing, and the two beast eyes were red, making people believe that any creature that appeared in front of it would be torn to shreds by it desperately. This kind of beast has been hungry for a long time, and may even have used some drugs to stimulate its fierceness. The warriors who came out at this time are actually the ration of the beast. Many monks who came to watch seemed to be very familiar with this horned flame beast, and cheered on it, Wenfan and Genyan looked at the horned flame beast like a hill, and laughed. Interesting, as expected, you guys can play, our 7-star immortal sect doesn't have such fun. Zhang Dashao humbly said, that's because the disciples of the noble immortal sect spend all their time on cultivation, how can they be like us, and when their strength rises, there will be nowhere to go to this fairy land. Wenfan and Genyan were very relieved to hear this compliment. When they saw the warrior coming out with a long blade dragging across the ground, the two of them were startled by the warrior's face, and then said regretfully, it's a pity. Well, this woman's face is ruined, otherwise the scene should be more beautiful. Beauty and the Beast, I don't know if the beauty tames the beast, or the beast tears the beauty. Haha, senior brother Wen said it very well, but before this warrior was disfigured, he was very handsome. It's a pity now. Zhang Dashao had a faint smile on his lips, but the depths of his eyes were indifferent. He was interested in the appearance of this woman, but he didn't expect to be rejected so strongly, and even ruined his appearance by any means. Young Master Zhang threw this woman into this place in a fit of anger. I have lived until this time, and I still refuse to accept it? If you don't want to be soft, then you should die. Is Zhang Dashao still short of women? Isn't Suyuxiu the same ascension cultivator? No matter how proud the backbone is, he can interrupt it. As soon as the warrior came out, the horned flame beast, which smelled the food, roared and rushed towards the warrior. The warrior held a sharp blade, not only did not flinch, but instead slashed towards the horned flame beast, a behemoth like a hill, and the other was Lian Xianyuan. The cultivation of people who are restricted in the use of power is so insignificant in comparison. Looking at the mouth of the horned flame beast, many monks feel that the next moment this warrior will be bitten and crippled. With just a bang, the sharp blade and the horned flame beast collided, and the short figure jumped behind the horned flame beast. The horned flame beast found that the food in its mouth had run away, and became even more angry, and its tail swept towards the warrior. The ping-pong soldiers fought for a long time, but it was hard to tell the winner. At first, the monks who thought that this warrior was not the opponent of the horned flame beast were very surprised, but the longer they could hold on, the more excited they watched and enjoyed in the end, the scene of the warrior's body being torn apart and swallowed by the beast. Many monks are cultivators who are good at long-range attacks. However, in this arena, the warriors are handcuffed and shackled, restricting their use of immortal energy and forcing them to fight with beasts in close quarters, because only in this way can they bring the greatest audience to the audience. Visual stimulation. Seeing such a scene, the three of Guyao were also shocked, because Fairy Baihen used to be good at spells in the spiritual world, and it was hard to imagine how she could adapt and survive, and they found that Wenfan and Genyanjing had nothing to do with it. Baihen was not recognized. Also, they didn't take the spiritual world cultivator seriously in the spiritual world at the beginning, and the change before and after Baihen was so big, they never thought of it anyway. Otherwise, Guyao and their plan may have many twists and turns. With a sound of chuck, half of the warrior's sleeve was ripped off by the claws of the beast, and an arm was almost pulled down. On the exposed arm, 5 new ones were added on top of the original wounds. Claw marks, blood seeping out. The warriors escaped, but those monks regretted it, and they disliked the fact that the horned flame beast was not powerful enough. If it was a little harder, the arm could be torn off. Come on, don't bear the name of the horned flame beast in vain. Hurry up, rush up, and tear up that ugly woman. This kind of ugly woman shouldn't be released to obstruct people's eyes. The various shouts in the square became louder and louder, and the blood stimulated the madness in the hearts of these people, such as Zhangde. Young masters of such aristocratic families are condescendingly ignoring all this, as if they are gods who control the humble ants at will. In front of the ascended monks and the bottom monks, their superiority is not generally high, even they are hostile to the ascended monks, thinking they are just a swarm of locusts should not come to their territory. Just zooming into the entire immortal world, they will find that the Ascension monks are not as incompetent as they thought. There are Ascension monks who eventually become immortal monarchs or even immortal emperors, and they encounter indiscriminately killing Ascension monks or imprisoning and humiliating Ascension monks. Generally speaking, they will not turn a blind eye, but there are also these monks, and the status of the Ascension monks is constantly improving, which is intolerable in the eyes of some local monks. But in the face of the strong, they had to bow their heads, so they turned to secret actions. Such an arena is just a microcosm. Here, they can manipulate these Ascension monks arbitrarily, even if someone becomes an immortal emperor, so what? Here, not at their mercy? Such crazy cries concealed the roars of the beasts from the depths, but the warriors in the arena could hear it clearly. Tears flashed in her eyes. Even if she sacrificed her life, she would never. You can't make those enemies feel better. The roar of the beast in the ear became louder and louder, and the aura of the warrior began to rise steadily. The beast and the warrior who were at a stalemate in strength turned into a warrior who jumped on the back of the beast, grabbed the hair on the back, and was carried by the beast. There were angry roars running around in the gladiatorial square. No matter what was done, there was no way to get rid of the prey on his back. "What's the matter?" When the warrior raised the sharp blade in his hand and stabbed the beast's head, many monks in the stands exclaimed. They were not worried that the warriors of the same kind would miss, but were worried the large immortal stone they placed on the beast's head would move away from them, and they even roared angrily below, trying to lift the warrior from the beast's back. "Master Zhang, why did this warrior's aura suddenly rise? Couldn't he make a breakthrough on the spot? This possibility hardly exists." Just as he said this, the sharp blade in the warrior's hand slammed into the head of the horned flame beast, and with a bang, the hill-like beast fell to the ground, blood all over the ground, and his body was dying with convulsions. The warrior stood on the beast's body and looked up. The blood-dripping sharp blade pointed directly at Zhang Dashao in the stands. Those eyes were extremely fierce, and this arena turned people into beasts. Zhang Dashao has a strange feeling in his heart. He didn't take this woman to heart. He seemed to be too ignorant of current affairs, but at this moment, a thought arises. If he really tamed this woman, wouldn't it be very interesting? Just like taming these beasts, the more stubborn the final result is, the more fulfilling he will be. But as soon as this thought flashed by, I saw a sharp whistle from the warrior's mouth, and then the iron gates in the square were opened, and the beasts that were originally tied to the cages ran out, followed by, it was those warriors who were also imprisoned. With a bang, there were hundreds of vicious beasts and people, and the original imprisonment of Xian Yuanli disappeared, and they flew towards the stands one by one. Not good. These disobedient things dare to rebel. Come on, protect the guests and evacuate. Zhang Dashao and Shi Dashao were shocked and quickly sounded the alarm. It's just that everything happened too fast, and the other guests didn't know how to get back, plus this is an underground space. Where are so many guests going to evacuate? In the blink of an eye, several monks and beasts jumped into their midst. The monk who had just reveled in the excitement was now a contributor to the scene, crying non-stop. Zhang Dashao and Shi Dashao were shocked. In order to protect the guests and maintain the reputation of the arena, they had to bring guards to block the robbery, so as not to cause more casualties. However, the current scene happened too suddenly. The number of guards is not as good as these beasts and warriors, especially the latter. Whether it is a beast or a so-called warrior, there is a wave of anger hidden in the chest, and the anger is turned into strength. The posture of the sons of the aristocratic family perishing together. These beasts also hold vengeance. They remember who imprisoned them and abused them, so they abandoned their former warrior opponents, caught a pampered son and bid him, "You bastard, how dare you rebel? Whoever gave you the guts will kill this old man." Finally the first Earth Immortal came over in the late stage, but he was surrounded by 3 Earth Immortals in an instant, and was unexpectedly rejected by the other party for a while. The play of life is trapped. How is that possible? What's wrong with your strength? It's a little higher than usual. The Earth Immortal who came over was shocked. Old man, let me die, haha, you are the ones I want to kill most. Ha ha ha. Suddenly, a cultivator rushed over and entangled the late-stage Immortal. He noticed the violent fluctuation of the immortal essence in the air. Someone shouted, "No, someone is going to explode, hurry up and escape." It was too late to say it, and a loud bang pierced through the underground space, screams were heard everywhere, and some people were directly involved and died thoroughly. Guyao and Chi Changjai did not expect that there would be a cultivator who would choose to self-destruct and die with the enemy, with such a determined look, and the final laughter was so happy. But it has to be said that this created an excellent opportunity for them. The three of them and Zhang Cheng inserted knives behind their backs when no one was paying attention, and reached behind Wenfan and Genyan. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 577. Wenfan and Genyan were going out privately, and they were not like young masters of an aristocratic family like Zhang Dashao who were surrounded by special guards. When the arena was chaotic and Zhang Shi had to come forward to stop them, they could not take care of these two distinguished guests, creating a vacuum around them. The two of them were also extremely unhappy, and they were in vain to give face to these two young masters to agree to an appointment, but what they saw was such a chaotic scene. Seeing that in the late stage of the Earth Immortal, they were seriously injured by the monks who blew themselves up with the idea of perishing together, and lost their combat effectiveness. The two of them cherished their lives and did not want to be involved at all. The strong impact of the explosion just now affected even them. But now they have to see if others are happy if they want to get away. Just when the two of them were about to turn around to find an exit to leave, a huge thrust suddenly came from behind them. The two who did not lose their senses turned their defenses to the maximum. However, the body still flew forward uncontrollably. The two quickly turned their bodies in the air, trying to see who was plotting against them behind their backs, but they only saw that the monks were following Zhang Shi, the two young men who robbed beasts and rebelled, and couldn't find anyone who shot them. This made them suspect themselves. Could it be that they were too vigilant, but in fact, it was just the impact generated during the battle, which just hit them both. But there was a stench behind them, and they found that two fierce beasts were rushing towards them, showing their sharp teeth and wanting to tear them apart. Beasts, the two were so angry that they had to prepare to kill the beasts. At the same time, their unhappiness with Zhang Shi and the two elders reached a peak. Let's see what they do. They didn't want the two beasts to rush to them, and with a bang, their bodies exploded into pieces of meat. They were only affected before, but this time they were directly injured. Before they could take any more action, each had a sharp stab of divine consciousness rushing into their sea of consciousness, causing them to suffer a sharp pain in the sea of consciousness. No, I was attacked. The pain of the sea of consciousness made the two of them black, but then the danger came. The two of them just opened their eyes and saw two sharp purple cones formed by the condensed sword energy stabbing at their heads. The two of them widened their eyes in horror as they watched the two sharp cones pierce their foreheads with a pop. At the last moment of consciousness, they finally realized who was plotting to sneak attack on them, and the chaos was even worse. It was even made by their own hands, although they couldn't figure out how. However, who else in this realm is the cultivator who is their enemy and is good at lightning sword energy? It wasn't that it was Chi Changjai, one of the ascended monks they wanted to find. At the last moment of their lives, they figured out who the murdered enemy was, but they no longer had the energy to avenge themselves, or even the ability to call out the enemy's name. Consciousness was wiped out, the bodies of the two were smashed to the ground heavily, and two more beasts rushed over, tearing their bodies with one claw. No. What's going on? Zhang Dashao couldn't believe what he saw with his eyes at all. He tried his best to rush over, but after killing the beast, he still got two incomplete corpses. Zhang Dashao was dumbfounded on the spot, dead. The specially invited guest just died in front of him. Died in the arena they run, or killed by the beasts they tame. Shi Das Hao also came, and stood on Zhang Das Hao and looked at it in disbelief. How is this possible? Could it be wrong? Maybe it's just the corpses of the other two monks. Where are Wenfan and Genyan still staying? Zhang Das Hao has calmed down, and he turned the two corpses into grey pain with a wave of his hand, his face gloomy as water, blocked the arena. All people and beasts here, kill them. Okay, Shi Das Hao responded immediately. But then they discovered that it was impossible to block the arena at present, because just as the two were about to order action, they saw the beasts that were still alive, suddenly gave up attacking the monks, and rushed towards the exit in unison. Once blocked, they would not hesitate to blow themselves up. Relying on such a perishing style of play, the arena forced them to open an exit. Come out, the arena wants to kill people. Someone in the crowd shouted, and the panic spread immediately in the arena. Someone shouted a word and rushed to the exit opened by the beast. 1 or 2 more monks joined in, and the arena was full. It is unrealistic to block all the monks in the arena, because the self-destruction of the beast has attracted the attention of the monks nearby, and some people flew over to check the situation, but they saw the beast and the monk rushing together. Came out. The three of Guyao and Zhang Cheng also rushed out in the crowd. When they flew to the place where the crowd was concentrated, they plunged in. It was not easy to find these people. Zhang Cheng's face was flushed and his spirit was extremely excited. When he first stepped into the arena, he never expected to end in such a scene, but for him, it was so enjoyable, it was so refreshing, seeing Zhang Shiliang the eldest and youngest were so angry that their face was contorted, so happy. However, he still had doubts in his heart. How did the three of Guyao do it? You must know that only Qi Changjai of these three people reached the early stage of Earth Immortal, but the arena with the four great families as the background was taken away by the whole pot. But one thing is certain, one of the three can control those beasts, and his spiritual sense is particularly strong, because he clearly saw that Wenfan and Genyan were attacked by their spiritual sense before they died, which made his heart twitch. He breathed a sigh of relief, and at the same time was excited, the stronger the ascended cultivator, the better it would be for them. Friend Zhang, take care of yourself, we will contact Captain Leng again if something happens. Okay, the three fellow deists are precious. Zhang Chen didn't talk nonsense. After saying goodbye to Qi Changjai and others, he disappeared into the crowd. Qi Changjai also quickly left with Guyao and Su Chen. This time, it was not Qi Changjai, but Guyao who consumed the most. In order to ensure safety, the three also changed the cave house, that is, Su Chen was distressed by the 1-year rent of the cave house before, but compared with Xianxi, safety is more important. After moving into the newly rented Dongfu, Qi Changjai took Guyao into the room to heal his wounds, leaving Su Chen alone outside, and let him take care of the house and cultivate. Su Chen held his chin and sighed. The more he did, the more he missed his little monk. The experience during this period also made him realize how difficult it is to reunite with the little monk early. It wasn't long before they lived in the new cave mansion, and the consciousness often swept over their cave mansion. Su Chen pretended to be in meditation, and seemed to have no awareness of this consciousness. He didn't need to go out to see the situation outside. It must be blocked everywhere, including the entrances and exits of the city gates, so it is relatively safe to stay in the city for now. They were also lucky. They had killed Heqiang and this group of star thieves in the starry sky before. The pill formula obtained from Heqiang came in great use. After returning to Donglan City, he and Guyao will make the Earth Immortal short. The elixir that has skyrocketed in time has been refined, including some healing elixir, which have been used on warriors and beasts who were detained in the arena. Otherwise, how could their strength skyrocket in a short period of time? That's not right, Can you get back the 100,000 immortal stones that you bet in the arena? Su Chen knocked on his forehead. When this happened, all the monks who entered the arena were suspicious, including Zhang Cheng. Their identities were it must never be repeated in front of others. Also, Xiaoao helped Zhang Qingli with so many immortal stones, and Zhang Cheng didn't even share our elements with us. This immortal stone must be brought back, regardless of how much immortal stone the medicinal pills they smashed in the arena are worth. As I said before, as the monks escaped from the arena, the news could not be blocked at all, and it soon spread throughout Donglan City. It's just that what the public knows is only the superficial situation. For example, an unknown monk attacked the arena, creating a chaos of great casualties. The four major families did not take good care of them and suffered heavy losses. The most serious one was a member of the Zhang family. The late Earth Immortal clan has been severely injured. If they cannot be cured, their cultivation will definitely go backwards, so now the Zhang family not only has to clean up the mess to appease the families of the dead and wounded monks, but also ask He Danchi for medicinal pills, ordinary healing medicinal pills. Nothing can be salvaged. As for the invisible things in the arena, the public outside still doesn't know anything about it. After all, they can't afford immortal stones, and ordinary monks can't enter the arena. Which cultivator actually dared to oppose the four major families? This time, he offended all four families. Someone laughed, "Hee, I haven't even grabbed the tail of the cultivator who committed the crime, so what's the difference?" This is a good word. Everyone is speechless, but they also don't believe that the four major families are so incompetent that they can't even catch the murderer. What's more, the city lord's mansion must also be involved in this matter. Some monks believe that the murderer will be caught sooner or later. By the way, haven't you heard? In the arena this time, 2 cultivators who were not to be taken lightly died. They came from outside with Master Rui Dan. No way, can't the 4 major families and the city lord's mansion be able to carry it? Didn't they say that the 2 alchemists and our city lord are friends? Hey, the 4 major families are also talking about it in our Donglan city. Who will recognize the Zhang family or the Shi family when they go out? Those big sects outside have tens of millions of disciples, just pick up a disciple. When you come out, your status is not lower than those of these young masters, and there will be no shortage of heaven-level alchemists in other major sections. Someone gasped when they heard it, and was about to ask something, when they saw another guard flying over, and quickly shut their mouths, so that no disaster would come out of their mouths. Since the arena was taken, Donglan City entered the whole city. The city is under martial law. In fact, some cultivators are happy in their hearts. Seeing that the children of these 4 families are usually high above, they have been taken away from the arena, and they can't even catch the murderer's tail. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 578. When ordinary monks were talking about the changes in the arena, Leng Su and the other group of ascended monks were not idle. Not only did they have to save the monks who escaped, they scattered and settled in hidden places, but they also had to deal with the city lord's mansion and the investigation of the big family. As for Zhang Cheng, who led the 3 of Guyao into the arena, he changed his face and was assigned to a middle-class family. He went to the hospital as a guard. Leng Su also secretly met with a few ascension cultivators at this moment. Originally, they were interested in the 2 immortal pill masters mentioned by Leng Su, but at that time they felt that they had just ascended not long ago, and they still needed the support of the old ascension cultivator. This time, they did the big thing and shocked them, the old ascension cultivators. The 4 major families didn't expect it at all, and they also didn't expect it. Seeing Leng Su this time, I still feel incredible. Although some people have their own thoughts, everyone's thoughts are the same at the moment. We must not let the people from the city lord's mansion and the 4 families find them, and protect them no matter what. Maybe our chance to turn over is on them. Leng Su smiled, I don't think they necessarily need our protection. Since they left the arena, I don't know where they are now. In the huge Donglan city, there are more than 1 billion monks, and 3 of them are to be. It's easier said than done to find out. We don't have to do extra things right now, and they will definitely contact me if they need us. The other cultivators are right after thinking about it, but they are the people who are stared at wherever they go recently, but there is no solid evidence that they did it. If they are not worried about their destructive power, I am afraid that they are now no peace. Let's find a way to break the slave mark. Recently, there are some eyebrows. If this thing is not removed for a day, the sword hanging over our head will always fall one day. If the law is not broken for a day, they will not dare to rescue the monks who have been marked as slaves, because the people who are rescued will also be helpless. Speaking of this, everyone was furious with the people of the 4 major families. There were friends and cultivators around them who fell into such a situation, and some of them lost their lives. Even if these cultivators have the opportunity to remove the slave seal in the future, the possibility of their cultivation level going up is extremely low. Those aristocratic children. There was no entry or exit at the gates of the city, and it lasted for a month without being lifted. There have been protests among the monks, especially for some businesses. They are more damaged. However, several suspicious monks who appeared in the arena have disappeared completely since they left that day. In fact, those who tracked down knew that the appearance of their appearance in the arena was definitely fake, and they came with a purpose. Possibly revealing his true identity? At this moment, he must have changed his face to hide in the hundreds of millions of people. Zhang Dashao and Shi Dashao are currently in the worst situation. Their lack of care resulted in the destruction of the arena. Most importantly, they brought 2 guests over there, but left their lives there. And the 7 Stars Immortal sect confession? Before, I wanted to climb up the relationship of the 7-star Immortal sect, but now let alone the relationship, it would be fine if the senior officials of the Immortal sect didn't come to Donglan City to ask the guild. Especially the late Earth Immortal clan elder of the Zhang family who was severely injured, because of the death of these 2 people in the arena. So far, the pill master has not agreed to make a pot of pills for him. The worse the situation, the elders of this clan hated Zhang Dashao. If he hadn't protected the guests he brought over, why would this happen? Master Heaton and City Lord Qiao were sitting together. City Lord Qiao had already received news that although the 2 dead were ordinary disciples of the 7 Stars Immortal sect, they were not insignificant, because these 2 disciples also took over the task of Xianbao Palace and past the space channel opened by the Immortal Emperor went to the lower realm to support the cultivators in the lower realm to slay the Void Beast. In other words, these 2 disciples left their names in the 7 Stars Immortal sect and Xianhuan Palace, and now they died in Donglan City, and his city owner could not be irresponsible at all. Therefore, City Master Qiao felt very troublesome. In fact, where do these cultivation families pay attention to cultivation? They all know how to eat, drink and enjoy themselves, and make a fortune in the local area, and their cultivation bases are almost accumulated by resources. It took a lot of work to suppress them. They probably never thought that such a big thing would happen, and their vigilance was too low. Master Hedan was also embarrassed, because these 2 people came with his Xianshuo. How could he imagine that he would die here, and he would have to take responsibility for it? He tapped the tabletop and said, actually, these 2 people said they came out to Lillian. I have always been suspicious. If Lillian was serious, they wouldn't have come to Donglan City with such a precise goal. They must have come with a purpose. If you know the purpose, you may be able to find out who did it. In the view of Master Hedan, it was nothing more than killing people and stealing treasures, but the 2 were too selfish and did not mention it to others. Now, how do I check it now? City Lord Qiao thought for a while and asked, can you find out which lower realm they went to perform the mission? If you want to know the difference between our Donglan City and other places, it is the Ascension Pool and Ascension Cultivator. Alchemist Rui said suspiciously, if the target is the Ascension cultivator that they knew in the lower realm, they could still let this cultivator escape in the lower realm back then? Before the Ascension cultivator did not ascend, even in the early stage of human beings, the strength would crush them. In his opinion, if there is any grievance, it should have been settled in the lower realm, but how could they have imagined that at that time, there were two other cultivators who went down to the immortal realm watching, making Wenfan and Genyan unable to start. This news can only be inquired from Xianhuan Palace. It is not easy to handle, and even if you want to inquire, it will not be able to inquire in a short time. City Lord Chiao said helplessly, anyway, let's start with these Ascension cultivators. By the way, I found the lay sword cultivator mentioned by Brother Rui last time. Speaking of which, it is also an Ascension cultivator. The cultivators who are wandering around said that this Thunder Sword cultivator has just been promoted to Earth Immortal 50 years after he ascended. When the housekeeper of the City Lord's mansion came to report the situation to him, the City Lord Chiao was also shocked by the potential of such aptitude. Although his subordinates recruited a group of Earth Immortals with good strength, in terms of aptitude, none of them surpassed the Thunder Sword. Xiu, he has never heard of any Ascension cultivator that it only takes 50 years to advance to Earth Immortal. This kind of aptitude made him feel jealous. If he had such good aptitude, why would he need to go to a place like Donglan City to be the city owner? Although he saw that he earned a lot of immortal stones, that was exactly what happened. Because of his poor aptitude, it is difficult to get ahead in Piaoxiu Immortal Palace, otherwise the cultivation environment of Piaoxiu Immortal Palace is many times better than that of Donglan City. Alchemist Rui's eyes lit up when he heard it. Sure enough, do you know where people are now? There is no shortage of genius cultivators who can challenge the immortal world, but it is rarely heard that not long after the calamity is over, the leaper slaughtered the middle stage of the Earth Immortal. Even if the strength of the Star Thief was not very good, he felt in the starry sky at that time sure enough. City Lord Chiao shook his head. Since slaughtering the Star Thieves, they have lost their whereabouts and may have returned to Donglan City, but the records of their entry into the city have not been registered at each city gate, and their identities may have been hidden. After all, it was too high profile before. By the way, there are also two human-level high-level elixir masters. Alchemist. City Lord Chiao's mind flashed, and he stood up abruptly. I may know who did it, it's probably them. Because according to Jiangxi's family reports, those monks and beasts have taken medicine pills. Traces, one of the elixir is an elixir that can make the Earth Immortal skyrocket a small order in a short time. It is also for this reason that the four major families have doubted whether their enemies secretly united with the Ascension cultivator camp, and these medicinal pills are provided by them. They do not think that the elixir masters in the Ascension cultivator camp have such superb alchemy techniques. Master, he pointed out to him, you said that you are a high-level human-level elixir master, and the elixir that may make the Earth Immortal cultivator's strength skyrocket, at least an Earth-level elixir master can make it. You wouldn't say two high-level human-level elixir masters. Can an elixir master refine it? City Lord Chiao frowned. How likely is it to be able to practice? Master, he Dan said, if you follow Brother Chiao's intention, they have only been flying up for more than 50 years, and they have not survived the immortal calamity. If they can refine this medicine, the talent and level of the medicine will definitely be 10,000. None of them is inferior to the Thunder Swordsman. What Alchemist Rui meant was that if it was such a talented alchemist, City Lord Chiao would be willing to take it out and ask the guild after finding someone. This City Lord Chiao didn't know how to answer for a while. If it is such an elixir master, the value is much higher than the value of these four families in Donglan City. Although these four families have a lot of immortal stones, as long as when an angel comes, you have to kneel. Over the years, when there was no conflict of interest, City Lord Chiao turned a blind eye to their actions and only regarded them as a tool for making money. But when it comes to their own interests, they will not hesitate to abandon them. However, City Lord Chiao was still hesitant. They are Ascension monks, and our position is not on the side of the Ascension monks. Master Heaton got up and looked at the sky behind his back. Brother Chiao, do you know that not long ago, there was another immortal emperor in the Ascension cultivator camp, who was promoted on the Void Beast battlefield? It is said that this human nature is as fierce as fire, and hates evil as enmity. Qiao Shuangfeng was shocked. Could it be that immortal Yu Heng? Don't look at the lag in the news of Donglan City, but he came from the Piaoxiu Immortal Palace. The owner of the Piaoxiu Immortal Palace is Xianjun, so he can naturally receive news from all parties in the immortal world, not to mention that immortal Piaoxiu has always looked down on Jade. Hung Xianjun's. Yu Heng Xianjun, when you hear this name, you will think that he is a cultivator with immortal spirit, but he is a guy who is good at close combat and very aggressive. At the beginning, they were of course on the side of Piaoxiu Xianjun. Shui Xianjun sits on the resources of the entire Piaoxiu Immortal Palace, and will definitely become the immortal emperor in front of Yu Heng Xianjun. Shouldn't it be him? Alchemist Rui sighed. At first we heard such a description, and we thought it was bad, but we thought it might be other immortals, but when the detailed news reaches Xiangong, we can't deceive ourselves anymore. It's not right now. Call him Immortal Emperor Yu Heng, but Immortal Emperor Yu Heng. Qiao Shuangfeng took a deep breath. Although he could only see Immortal Piaoxiu from a distance in the past, he could imagine how bad Immortal Piaoxiu would feel when he heard this news. At least he didn't hear it. Xianjun Guo Piaoxiu has any signs of breaking through and advancing. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 579. Leng Su and Xia Kunren drank each other in the tea house, and saw the guards passing by outside, with the emblems of the four major families clearly on their clothes. Xia Kunren raised his chin and said, "Have you noticed anything wrong? In recent days, I feel that the city lord's mansion's attitude towards catching the murderer has not been as positive as before. I heard that the Zhang family was old and asked to see Alchemist Rui, and failed again." Leng Su frowned and said, "What is that old man thinking? She has absolutely no good impression of Qiao Shuangfeng, the city lord. This person is completely in trouble with the four major families. Now she tells them that the trend will suddenly change, and you want to divide the boundaries with the four major families." Leng Su was the first to not believe it, unless this fairyland was about to change. Even Qiao Shuangfeng learned about the newly promoted immortal emperor from Alchemist Rui. Leng Su's news would only be further delayed. Without knowing the external situation, they could not fully understand Qiao Shuangfeng's intentions and did not dare to relax in the slightest. After the two finished drinking tea, they went downstairs, and when they reached the door, they were stopped by someone. "Leng Su, stop for me." Hearing the voice full of anger from one side, Leng Su and Xia Kunren looked over there together to see who was coming. Xia Kunren's eyes flashed with disdain. The ascended cultivator was in a difficult situation, but some people were holding them back. Ascension monks like Su Yuxiu are not on the same path as them. Leng Su folded his arms and stood there with a sneer. "Pretend to be a sister when you're okay, but just show your face when you're in trouble? Su Yuxiu, I said don't come to me, otherwise I don't know when I can't help but shoot." Su Yuxiu was not guilty at all. She never felt that her actions were wrong. Back then, they stepped on the bones of countless people to climb to the top in the spiritual world. What is the difference between what she does now? As long as you can climb up, what can't you give up? Including friends around you can use it. Leng Su, did you do it? You have always disliked my actions, so you are going to destroy my support, right? It was you who made trouble, but they took their anger on me. Leng Su, are you trying to disgust me on purpose? Ha, Leng Su was about to laugh madly, Are you surnamed Su thinking too much of yourself? As long as you don't show your face in front of me, who still remembers you? Now you are not in the spiritual world, everyone is. I want to revolve around you. Wake up, you are really not that important to me. But thank you for coming to tell me. I don't know if you don't tell me, but I am very happy to hear it. Fellow deists, ya, let's go. Okay. Xia Kunren laughed when he heard it. Yes, they were really happy to see that Su Yuxiu had a hard time at Zhang's house. If Su Yuxiu hadn't come over and told them, where would they have thought of this episode? They would have told Leng Su. In the same way, Su Yuxiu is really not that important, so important that people pay attention to her at any time. Leng Su, stop for me. Leng Su, you have to die. Do you think the Zhang family will spare you people? Leng Su, I'm having a hard time, and you can't have a good life. The gentle and beautiful Su Yuxiu was furious and shrewd at the moment, which made passers-by look very strange. The Zhang family, she said, is not one of the four major families, right? Who is she from the Zhang family? I've heard of Leng Su. The team led by Leng Su often goes out to hunt star beasts, and they are very sturdy. This woman is obviously not on the same level as Captain Leng. Passers-by pointed at Su Yuxiu. This is where Leng Su and her teammates often haunt, so it is normal to hear about Leng Su. The twin sisters who used to keep pace with each other in the spiritual world, now Su Yuxiu is no longer Leng Su's opponent. Today's Su Yuxiu is not a person inside or outside. Originally, the competition in Zhang Dashao's backyard was very fierce. No matter how many resources there would be limited resources. Of course, there would be more favored people. At first, Su Yuxiu was very favored by Zhang Dashao, but there is no shortage of women around Zhang Dashao, and there will be a time limit for being favored. Although there is competition among other women, they unite when facing Su Yuxiu. Let her be an ascended monk? This time, they got the handle. Although they haven't caught the perpetrator, they are definitely inseparable from the phase Hun cultivation camp. Dashao Zhang is not only blamed by the family, but also in the battle. Dashao Zhang himself, the injuries were not minor, and they had to catch the murderer with the injuries, so these women in the backyard attack Su Yuxiu in unison. Su Yuxiu complained to Dashao Zhang, but he was ruthlessly kicked out by Dashao Zhang. Dashao Zhang also harbored anger towards Su Yuxiu, who was also an ascending cultivator. This is good. Even the training resources distributed every month have been deducted. Su Yuxiu was desperate to find Leng Su's trouble. Seeing passers-by pointing and pointing, Su Yuxiu was extremely embarrassed, but in the huge Donglan city, she could only go back to Zhang's house in the end. Zhang family. The important members of the family gathered together. The patriarch tapped the table with a lot of force, and banged loudly. What does City Lord Qiao mean this time? Let go of the city gate? Did you notice it? Especially if he failed to go to Dan, the Zhang family leader was so angry that he could only pay a higher price to buy it from the outside, otherwise the clan elder's cultivation level would really fall and the Zhang family's strength would drop, and that would be the biggest loss. The first elder originally closed his eyes, but after receiving a message, he opened his eyes and stared straight after reading it. Elder, what's the matter? The first elder took a breath and said, I can probably understand why the old boy surnamed Qiao did this. There is news from outside that there is another immortal emperor in the fairyland, and this new immortal emperor is from the ascended monk camp. The patriarch's pupils suddenly shrank when he heard it, but he still said stubbornly, the surname Qiao is just a piece of grass. Does he know what Immortal Piaoxiu did? Besides, he is just a new immortal emperor. Can he change the situation in the fairyland? In the immortal realm, our native immortal emperor still has the advantage. Zhang Dashao was also very shocked when he heard it, and there was endless envy in his eyes. Immortal emperor, it would be great for him to become an immortal emperor someday, but how many years have passed in the Zhang family, and the most cultivated is the peak of Earth Immortal. Even heavenly immortals rarely appear, and the Great Elder is the pinnacle of earth immortals, but he has not dared to break through, because several ancestors of the ancestors were blasted to ashes by the heavenly immortal tribulation when they broke through the tribulation. Not only the Zhang family, but the other three families are also in the same situation, so now the clan elders would rather stay at the peak of the earth immortal than risk their lives to try. Now that City Lord Qiao is ready to break through, they actually want to watch a good show. If City Lord Qiao fails and dies in a catastrophe, all the Donglan city will be returned to their hands. The new City Lord will not be so easy to take power. Although the other clan elders were shocked, they still insisted, this is Donglan city. No matter how long he stretches his hand as a new immortal emperor, he will not be able to control us. I think we are too kind to them. Everyone is wrong, and dare to attack the guests we invite. This time, it is better to follow the city lord's wishes, let go of the city gate, contact us outside, open your pockets, and dare to leave the Ascension monks of Donglan city, don't miss a single one. When necessary, we old guys can also exercise their muscles and bones. I believe that Shijia and the others think the same way. The eyes of other clan elders and clan chiefs showed ruthlessness. Their ancestors have lived here for generations, so how can they allow others to interfere and divide their interests? Compromise means that the resources at hand are greatly reduced. Who will agree? As long as the pockets of Donglan city are fastened, and an ascended cultivator is not let go, who will know what happened in Donglan city? The patriarch said, yes, they should all be marked as slaves, and see how they rebel. All clues point to the ascended cultivator. Although the bodies of Wenfan and Genyan were severely damaged, it was impossible to find out what caused their deaths. Earth Immortal can still feel the sword energy with a destructive aura, plus the City Lord's mansion is looking for a Thunder Sword cultivator, what need to be said? There are also people outside, so it is easy to find out about one sword cultivator and two elixir masters who have appeared in the exchange station. Of these three, no one can let them grow up. They don't want to create a powerful enemy on their own territory. Come. Guyao came over early. Although this action was a bit hasty, the result was satisfactory. Of course, Hui, the black cat who took the lead, was not the one who controlled the staff inside and opened the cages, so there would be no possibility. Later development. Guyao quietly pondered the pill recipe. Su Chen came back from outside. Guyao raised his head and asked, how is the situation outside now? Although he didn't go out, he knew that there must be people searching everywhere in Donglan city. Even the temporary cave house they rented was also checked by several groups of people. Su Chen raised his eyebrows and said, the city gate has reopened again, and I said they can't seal it. How? Shall we go out of town? Qi Changjai walked in after practicing the sword. Is it safe outside the city? Staying here to practice is much better than the exchange station. Su Chen stretched his waist. It's not safe. Don't those families have connections with the star thieves outside, and it's impossible to let the people who destroyed the arena so easily. But we are still trapped here. I can't even make medicinal herbs. Everything that happened in the arena showed that there were alchemists involved. In order to avoid exposing their identities, they could not buy immortal herbs outside. How could they alchemy without immortal herbs? Although immortal fields have been opened up in the ancient space, the growth rate cannot keep up with their needs. Qi Changjai said lightly, wait, there will be a breakout. Leng Feng also sent them a message, which was the news of the reopening of the city gate, reminding Guyao that they had better not leave the city recently. In her opinion, it is impossible for the four major families to give up so quickly and fight against these families. The more time they spend with each other, the more they understand their temperament. In particular, Su Yuxiu ran over to question her. For Leng Su, this was actually a signal. The Zhang family suffered such a big loss and could not bear it anymore. What about family interests? Transmigration, first-class immortal husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 580. The three of Guyao were cultivating while paying attention to the situation outside. Sure enough, not long after the city gate was opened, incidents of outgoing teams were attacked from time to time, which made some people rely on hunting star beasts outside to make a living and want to go out of the city to practice training. The cultivators would rather stay in Donglan City, and scold those star thieves who are insane. How do ordinary monks know the plans of the four major families? They thought that some time ago, the star thieves had no robbery targets, and they held it for too long before they would do anything to spare even a small team like them. Because the location of the incident was too close to Donglan City, some monks sent a request to the city lord's mansion, hoping that the city lord's mansion would send monks to maintain the security of the surrounding area. The city lord's mansion also symbolically sent some guards out to patrol the city, so that the bottom-level monks who depended on hunting for a living could continue to make a living. Those ascension cultivators couldn't hold back, and they didn't achieve the idea of the four major families at all, and they were so angry that several principals cursed. They really wanted to arrest the more active ascension cultivators in the city, but the city lord's mansion was watching, and there was no normal name to take action, and it was easy to be stopped by the city lord's mansion. Those who escaped from the arena were not searched. These ascension monks are like mice turned into essences, and they are hidden in their territory so that they can't even find a shadow. As time goes by, many ascension cultivators can't sit still, because their main source of income is also the star beasts and refining materials outside, and they need immortal stones to cultivate. The two 7-star Immortal sect disciples who died in the arena seemed to be left behind by all parties tacitly, never mentioning them. For Alchemist Rui, even if someone from the 7-star Immortal sect came to ask the guild, he would be able to pass the test by paying some price in his capacity, and when he was promoted to Heavenly Immortal, I am afraid that the people of the 7-star Immortal sect would not be able to do it for 2 Earth Immortals. The disciples came to ask the guild. Therefore, after the discussion between Master Rui and City Lord Chiao, they both focused their energy on promotion. Therefore, while the four major families were still paying attention to the ascended cultivators, the cultivators in the city focused their attention on the mission hall of the City Lord's mansion and Alchemist Rui. Because the mission hall said something, Alchemist Rui wanted to recruit several elixir masters to attack. Refining important medicinal pills, so confident elixir masters can come to the task hall to accept the assessment. Not to mention the public monks in the city, even some of the children of the four major families can't sit still. These families also cultivate their own elixir masters, and some have joined the alchemy hall of the city lord's mansion, but the alchemy skills are undoubtedly better than Alchemist Rui was far behind. If Alchemist Miao could take a fancy to it, it would undoubtedly be a great opportunity for ascension, so some family members signed up privately. Just when Guyao and the others were thinking about how to break through the situation in front of them, the City Lord Mansion Mission Hall suddenly threw this hand. When they went out, they would find that the places selling immortal grass were crowded with monks buying immortal grass. The three also squeezed into the crowd without hesitation, and followed the others to fight for the fairy grass. The shopkeepers in the shop were so happy that Dantang did a good deed this time. They even sold the immortal grass that had accumulated, and they also organized people to step up the acquisition of immortal grass and send it over, taking advantage of this opportunity. Make a fortune. The four major families originally had an important goal of the Thunder Sword Cultivator and the Elixir Master. However, the City Lord's Mansion suddenly made such a move. They wanted to keep an eye on the suspicious Elixir Master, which was impossible to achieve. However, the whole thing was caused by Alchemist Rui is hosting behind the scenes. Can they rush over to question Alchemist He? Don't forget that behind the Piaoxiu Immortal Palace, Master Yindan's status and power in the Piaoxiu Immortal Palace is greater than that of City Lord Chiao and the four major families combined. He Donchi's hand can be described as above board. After all, he wants to leapfrog to refine the early stage elixir. In order to be cautious, he has to find a few more helpers for himself, so that he can go all out to ensure the success of the elixir. Not to mention that it couldn't be stopped, even the four great families themselves were very jealous of the medicinal pill that alchemist Miao was going to refine this time. This time, if he offends Master He, I am afraid that the elixir masters in Piaoxiu Immortal Palace will put the four major families on the list of refusing contact. Su Chen also signed up. He secretly went to sign up, and only after reporting did he come back and tell Guyao that he was going deep into the tiger's den for Guyao, and Guyao could only look back at him with helpless eyes. In fact, Guyao also had such an idea, but he and Su Chen were only suitable for one visit. Their words were too striking. Maybe Su Chen didn't want to take risks on his own, so he rushed to get things done. Guyao urged, "You have to be careful, if there is anything you need to contact us in time." Although alchemist Rui is good at alchemy, he is a member of the Piaoxiu Immortal Palace. Listen to Captain Leng, in the Piaoxiu Immortal Palace, a Saring cultivator. No right to speak. Don't worry, Su Chen patted his chest carelessly, maybe I can learn something from alchemist Rui, so this adventure is worth it. It would be even better if they could be allowed to watch the refinement of heaven-level elixir. Even by watching, they would be able to learn a lot from it. When the time came, Guyao and Qi Changjai sent Su Chen to the pill hall for assessment. When I went to the mission hall for the first time, I heard the name of Dan Tang, but none of the three were interested in the mission, so they turned around and left. I didn't expect to deal with Dan Tang again this time, so the future is the worst. Elusive. There were many monks who came to watch like them. Even though the pill hall was large, it was crowded by the monks who came. The person in charge of the assessment was naturally the elixir master. Guyao and Qi Changjai, who were crowded in the crowd, saw two cultivators walking out surrounded by people. Needless to say, these two cultivators had the most important status in this assessment. They didn't know any of them, but the other cultivators knew the elixir master in the alchemy hall. The voices of whispered discussions were sent to the ears of the two, so that the two of them understood that the first two cultivators were not from the alchemy hall, and speculated that their identities are likely to be the disciples or subordinates of alchemy master Rui. Looking at the alchemy masters in the alchemy hall, their attitude towards these two can be described as respectful and even flattering. After the two came out, the assessment began. The first round was to select the designated immortal grass from tens of thousands of immortal grasses and conduct preliminary processing. This first round of assessment is actually about basic skills. Which alchemist doesn't start out by being familiar with immortal grasses before entering this field? Even the latecomers like Guyao and Su Chen did not miss out on this basic skill. But just like this, after the first round of assessment, a small number of people were actually brushed down. Some people in the crowd couldn't bear to look directly and covered their eyes. These people who were brushed down clearly wanted to try their luck. I don't know why people like Donji Rui want to see them. Of course Su Chen passed the test, and the monks who passed the test entered the second round of assessment with the two, refining the designated immortal grass and reaching the designated purity in order to pass the test. This Guan Guyao wouldn't worry about Su Chen at all, but in the onlookers, it was also found that the basic skills of those alchemists from the alchemy hall and major families were much more solid than those of the loose cultivators nearby. That's right, they have more time to practice and improve the alchemy technique, and the scattered cultivators still have to support their families, and they don't have so many immortal herbs for their own practice. The second round of assessment requires a waiting process. The alchemists in the alchemy hall who are responsible for helping to maintain order are actually bitter. They originally wanted to take all this matter down, and all those who will be sent to alchemist Rui will be their own people. You must know that they started preparations when they first got the news 50 years ago, but they didn't expect that alchemist Rui directly sent his own men to take over the matter and expanded the assessment object to the whole city. Cultivator, they can't do anything in it if they want to. Although they have confidence in their own people, The best and most comprehensive place for alchemy in Donglan City is the alchemy hall of the city lord's mansion, but they also know what happened in the arena some time ago, and they know the reason why those monks and beasts the strength has skyrocketed because someone sent the medicinal pills in. The medicinal ingredients that were tested from the corpse were identified by their dantang, and it was difficult for them to refine them. Does that mean that there is one or even two alchemy masters lurking in Donglan City whose alchemy skills are not inferior to those of the alchemy hall? If they came to participate in the assessment and let alchemist Rui pick them, wouldn't they have slapped the entire dantang in the face? Although alchemist Rui didn't show up, he and City Lord Chiao paid attention to this assessment throughout the whole process, and all the movements could not escape their consciousness. Alchemist Rui sincerely hopes to dig up some good seedlings and bring them back to Piaoxiu Immortal Palace. City Lord Chiao asked with a smile, "Have you found any good seedlings?" Brother Rui, don't think that the level of these alchemists in the alchemy hall is not good. If they are not bad, they will not stay in this Donglan city forever. Alchemist Rui had been in contact with Dan Tang before, but he was very disappointed. What he was disappointed was not the poor level of alchemy skills, but there was still room for adjustment. What was most disappointing was the attitude of these alchemists. These elixir masters have completely formed their own small circle, and it is extremely difficult for outsiders to enter the circle. Such a mentality is destined to have very limited achievements. Therefore, the alchemy master recommended to him by Dantang, he did not look down on any of them, and he also put some thought into finding those two elixir masters, so he had this assessment and selection. Alchemist Rui said, "This alchemy hall is really bad. I have seen 2 or 3 alchemists perform better than the alchemists in the alchemy hall." City Lord Chiao smiled and didn't mind Dan Master Rui's belittling of Dantang. It turns out that Dantang is controlled by those 4 families. After I came here, I just put some people in, so the change is not big, and I am not a Dantang. Master, it's up to them to toss. City Lord Chiao's purpose is to make money, so as long as he doesn't miss his business, he will turn a blind eye to many things, including Dantang. That blue-shirt alchemist is not bad, I don't think he has exerted his full strength. Alchemist Rui saw an alchemist's operation, and his eyes lit up. The blue-shirt alchemist Su Chen handed over the refined medicinal liquid, not at all worried that he would not be able to choose it. Sit back and wait for the result. He wanted to run to Gu Yao and Qi Changai's side, but he was worried that the goals of the 3 were too obvious.